everyone, and welcome back. All right, today we are wading into a debate that probably kicks off your morning every single day. Hot coffee versus iced coffee. Is one of them actually truly better for you? Well, let's find out. Okay, picture this. You're standing at the counter, the barista's waiting. What do you get? Do you go for that comforting, warm mug of hot coffee? Or do you need that refreshing kick of something cold? We're going to dig in and figure out which one is actually better when you look at things like caffeine, health benefits, and a whole lot more. But hold on, before we jump into the showdown, we have got to clear something up first. It's a super common point of confusion, and it's this. Not all cold coffee is created equal. And right here, you can see the key difference. So you've got your standard iced coffee, which is literally just regular hot coffee that's been poured over ice to cool it down. Simple enough. Then you've got cold brew. And this is a whole different ballgame. It's made by steeping coffee grounds in cold water for a long time, like anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. And trust me, that brewing difference, it changes everything.
All right, let's get to the question on everybody's mind. Caffeine. You'd think the answer would be simple, right? Hot has more or cold has more. But oh no, it's way more complicated than you'd think.
So let's just ask it straight up. Which one packs more of a punch? Does the temperature of the water really decide how much of that glorious caffeine actually makes it into your cup?
Well, here's the first big plot twist of the day. It's not really about the temperature. Yeah, sure, hot water is technically better at pulling stuff out of the coffee grounds, but it turns out there are other things that have a way bigger impact on that final caffeine number.
So let's look at what actually moves the needle. First up, the brewing method itself. That long, steep time for cold brew, it can create a super concentrated coffee base. Then there's the roast. A lot of people don't know this, but lighter roasts can actually have more caffeine than dark roasts. The type of bean is a huge one. If you're drinking Robusta beans, you're getting about double the caffeine of Arabica, no joke. And finally, the one we all forget about, dilution. Think about it, all that ice in your iced coffee, it melts, and it waters everything down.
Okay, so the caffeine thing is a total toss-up. It's complicated. So what about the other health stuff? Let's talk antioxidants and acidity.
When you look at the science, there are some differences, but they're pretty subtle. It looks like brewing with hot water pulls out a few more antioxidants, the good stuff that helps fight inflammation. But on the other hand, cold brew usually ends up being a little bit less acidic.
And this is the key takeaway here. We're talking tiny differences. The word to focus on here is marginal. We're not talking about a night and day difference. The bottom line is, both of them are going to give you a meaningful dose of those healthy antioxidants that protect your cells.
Okay, now this is where it gets really practical for some of you. That slightly lower acidity in cold brew, it can be a game changer for people with sensitive stomachs or acid reflux. Many people just find it feels smoother and is way easier on their system. So it's not some massive scientific difference, it's more about how it actually feels in your body. And that's a big deal.
Okay, so let's recap. We've looked at caffeine, antioxidants, acidity, and the differences are pretty minimal, right? It's almost like this whole hot versus cold debate is missing the real point.
So if the temperature is barely a factor, what is? What's the one thing that really determines how healthy or unhealthy your daily coffee is?
Well, the biggest factor, the one thing that can take a perfectly fine cup of coffee and turn it into basically a milkshake is...
It's what you add to it. Yep, it's not the brew. It's all the extras. We're talking the syrups, the sugar, the heavy creams, the whipped toppings, all of it. That stuff is what completely changes the game.
And here's why that matters so much. All those tasty extras are usually packed with sugar and calories. That high sugar content sends your blood sugar on an absolute roller coaster. You get that big spike, and then the inevitable crash, which is probably the exact opposite of what you were looking for from your coffee.
Okay, so where does that leave us? After all this, how are you supposed to choose? Let's pull it all together for the final verdict in this coffee showdown.
And this little scorecard pretty much sums it all up. Caffeine? Honestly, it depends on way too many things to pick a clear winner. Antioxidants? Hot coffee gets a tiny little point. Acidity? Cold brew gets a tiny little point. But the real factor? The one that blows everything else out of the water? It's the additives. The sugar, the cream, that's the main event. So, the big reveal is, there is no better coffee.
At least, not when we're just talking hot versus cold. If you're drinking it black, the differences are so small they're barely worth mentioning. So it really just boils down to what you prefer. Do you want that cozy, warm cup or that smooth, refreshing kick?
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. The next time you're in line for your coffee, is your perfect cup really about the brew itself, or is it all about the extras? Think about it. Your answer might just change your entire coffee ritual. Thanks for tuning in.